We've got some breaking news where the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, has passed away at the age of 99. Now, the royal family's Twitter handle has said that it is with deep sorrow that Her Majesty The Queen has announced the death of her beloved husband, the Royal Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. His Royal Highness passed away peacefully this morning at the Windsor Castle. Flags across the country are expected to be lowered to half-mast, and Prince Philip was the longest reigning consort in British history. Queen Elizabeth II will be on an 8-day period of mourning. The United Kingdom will enter into a 30-day period of mourning. And also, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has just issued a statement. Let's listen in to what the British Prime Minister has had to say.
His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh, has passed away at the age of 99. Prince Philip earned the affection of generations here in the United Kingdom, across the Commonwealth and around the world. He was the longest serving consort in history, one of the last surviving people in this country to have served in the Second World War, at Cape Matapan, where he was mentioned in dispatches for bravery, and in the invasion of Sicily, where he saved his ship by his quick thinking. And from that conflict, he took an ethic of service that he applied throughout the unprecedented changes of the post-war era. Like the expert carriage driver that he was, he helped to steer the royal family and the monarchy so that it remains an institution indisputably vital to the balance and happiness of our national life.
All right, so that was the statement by the British Prime Minister. So Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II, has passed away at the age of 99. And to give us more information on this, we're joined in by our London Bureau Chief, Mandy Clark, who's joining us live from London. Mandy, the royal family is such an important presence within the British society, and Prince Philip is no more. What more information do we have on this?
We don't know too much. We know it was in the morning this morning. We do know he had a long hospital stay, and he just recently had been released. Now, he went into the hospital, they said, for his own health and protection, and they were monitoring him, but all signs seemed that he was returned to full health, and that's why he did return to Windsor Castle. He was 99 years old, very
All right, we'll try get my colleague Mandy Clark back online with us, because remember, Prince Philip was in fact admitted to a hospital for well over a period of a month. He had been discharged to be given to Hindustan on the 15th of March, just last month. He had undergone a successful procedure for a pre-existing heart condition at a London hospital, St. Bartholomew's. He had returned to his home at Windsor Castle, and the statement that's been put out by the royal family earlier, a little while back, states that the prince is no more. He was 99. So Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II, has died at the age of 99. And the Queen, of course, has put out a statement after the demise of Prince Philip. I'm told that we have our correspondent Mandy Clark back online with us. So, Mandy, you were telling us about the circumstances leading to the demise of Prince Philip. At this point of time, besides the statement that's been put out by the royal family, do we at this point of time know anything at all as to what actually has caused his death?
We don't have a cause of death per se. We do know he had been quite unwell with a chest infection. It led him to a long hospital stay for a month. And he was just recently released just a few weeks ago. So it does come as a bit of surprise, because he seemed to have a clean bill of health to have returned to Windsor Castle. Of course, the royal family over the past few months have faced a lot of turmoil over, of course, the Prince Harry and Meghan interview. It really showed strains within the royal family. And the question is if they will make amends, if Harry will come back for the funeral of his grandfather. but there was certainly a lot of strife within the royal family and wrangling after that interview. It caused a lot of stress, but in all that we knew, he seemed to be in good health, though he had periods of unwellness just months prior. And he was 99 years old, let's remember. He had a very long life.
Absolutely, indeed. He would have been celebrating his 100th birthday in the month of June. Now, he was in fact by the Queen nearly for almost 8 decades, the longest consort of a royal in Britain. For people who are watching this from outside of Britain, give us a sense of the importance that Prince Philip had within the British society.
I think there's a sense of stability with Prince Philip. He was always there in most people's memory. They've always known Prince Philip by the side of Queen Elizabeth. If she is the nation's grandmother, then he is the nation's grandfather. Sometimes he would make blunders, but in many ways, so does a lovable grandfather. So he was very much seen with endearment amongst the British public. And I think many will be a bit saddened by his death. Of course, the nation enters a period of mourning now after passing. But overall, there was a place in most people's heart for Prince.
Absolutely. You do continue to stay on with us, Mandy. Now, Prince Philip was, of course, a leading figure in the British royal family for nearly about 7 decades. The Duke of Edinburgh had earned a reputation of having a tough and a no-nonsense attitude. He was born in the Greek island of Corfu on the 10th of June back in the year 1921. He was the 5th child and the only son of Prince Andrew of Greece. His parents went into exile when he was just 18 months old. Philip had British and German blood through his mother, a great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria. His early life was spent on the move around Europe. He was then educated at Gordonstown. Philip joined the Royal Naval College at Dartmouth as a cadet way back in the year 1939. He served in warships during the Second World War and also took part in the Allied landings in Sicily and was in Tokyo Bay when Japan surrendered back in 1945. He and Elizabeth first met at the wedding of Philip's cousin in 1934, and the Greek prince married Queen Elizabeth II in 1947, 5 years before she became the Queen of England. They were married at Westminster Abbey on the 20th of November in 1947. A grand ceremony attended by statesmen and royalty from around the world. He played a key role in modernizing the monarchy. In the post-World War II period, the couple in total had 4 children. Charles was the Prince of Wales, Prince Anne, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. And also the couple had recently celebrated their 73rd wedding anniversary in the month of November and had been largely living in isolation at the Windsor Castle west of London. Because of their advanced age, they of course were at a heightened risk from COVID-19. The Prince, Philip and also the Queen had received their first vaccinations against the virus in the month of January. Let's once again listen in to what the British Prime Minister has had to say on this.
Her Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh has passed away at the age of 99. Prince Philip earned the affection of generations here in the United Kingdom, across the Commonwealth and around the world. He was the longest serving consort in history, one of the last surviving people in this country to have served in the Second World War. At Cape Matapan, where he was mentioned in dispatches for bravery, and in the invasion of Sicily, where he saved his ship by his quick thinking. And from that conflict, he took an ethic of service that he applied throughout the unprecedented changes of the post-war era. Like the expert carriage driver that he was, he helped to steer the royal family and the monarchy so that it remains an institution indisputably vital to the balance and happiness of our national life.
All right, so that was Prime Minister Boris Johnson there issuing his statement after the demise of Prince Philip. Now, Philip was, of course, no stranger to health issues. He had been previously fitted with a stent back in 2011 after he'd suffered from a blocked artery. He also had a hip operation in 2018, and in January 2019, remember, he emerged unscathed after his vehicle was involved in a traffic accident that resulted in injuries to 2 people near the monarch's Sandringham estate in eastern England. So this of course is the latest that we are getting, and also at this point of time I'm told that we are joined in by royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, who's joining us live from Leicester. Richard, thank you very much indeed for joining us in this broadcast on WION. At this point of time, there's very little information that we know about the circumstances leading to the death of Prince Philip. What more do we at this point of time glean from the statement that's been put out by the royal family?
Well, we know that a statement has been put out by Buckingham Palace, and obviously there is a tremendous amount of sadness in Britain at the moment. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has paid tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh. Sure, who in so many ways left his mark on Britain and the Commonwealth. I think that it was not an easy role for someone who was as dynamic as the Duke was to be in a role which he assumed when the Queen became the Queen in 1952, to walk 2 steps behind her. But he was a dynamo. He was tremendously energetic, and in so many ways, in charitable ways, and also in ways that he felt was supporting the Queen and supporting the monarchy.
Absolutely, indeed. And Richard, this is something that is now being followed across the world. For people who are looking at this event, at the demise of Prince Philip from outside of the United Kingdom, what is likely to happen now? We're given to understand that the Queen will be going into a mourning period of about 8 days, a mourning of 30 days that was also been announced. So take us further in terms of how the royal family proceeds from here.
Well, at the moment, obviously, there will be a period of court mourning. We have to take into account the fact that at this time there is a large it is expected to be a funeral service at St. George's in Windsor. I think the Duke was someone who didn't want any fuss. There's no question that the tributes that are currently pouring in bear testament to what an amazing life he led, and also the contribution that he made in so many fields. We're thinking of his award scheme, which 144 nations benefited from, or his work for the environment. He was actually attached to 837 institutions and organizations, which is absolutely phenomenal. I think there's no question that we're waiting for further announcements from Buckingham Palace as to what precisely will be planned. Obviously, given the COVID restrictions, there will be alterations to what had normally been expected. At the moment, courts obviously
So this is, of course, the latest bit of information that we are getting, that Prince Philip has now passed away at the age of 99. He would have been celebrating his 100th birthday in the month of June later this year. Remember, the Queen and also Prince Philip had been isolating themselves at the Windsor Castle since November last year, and they had both been administered the COVID-19 vaccine earlier in the month of January. Now, Richard, this is, of course, is something, there'll be more clarity in terms of what actually, has caused his death. But we're given to understand that both the Queen and Prince Philip were isolating themselves at the Windsor Castle because of their advanced age, and also because they were more vulnerable for the COVID-19 infection. Is there anything that's been said by the royal family that rules out COVID-19 as perhaps the cause of death here?
Absolutely nothing. We simply know. I mean, we have to bear in mind that the Duke was 1990, and of course, recently month. There had been considerable concern then about the treatment for pre-existing heart condition, and there was no question that obviously the nation was hoping to rate him sent in. He is, of course, the longest serving royal consort in history, and there's no question at all that there is very, very deep sadness here at the moment, because he was a remarkable individual, dynamic energy, deep devotion to the Queen and to the institution of monarchy, a modernizer, and what I think is also very interesting, the fact that he and the Queen almost magically, almost mystically managed so many engagements. He was with her for 251 tours abroad. They managed this wonderful chemistry between them, and yet they were opposite characters in so many ways. The Queen was often shy, conservative, the Duke challenging and modernizing. It wasn't an easy role for him, but he adapted to it brilliantly.
Indeed. And also, if I could bring in our London Bureau Chief with us, Mandy Clark. Mandy, this is, of course, a big void that is now left in the British royal family. Talk us a bit about the legacy of Prince Philip within Britain.
Well, I think Prince Philip was a lovable character. I remember clearly he was on one of the engagements, and he was opening a plaque, and he turned to the crowd and said to us, "I am actually the chief ribbon cutter." He was funny. He was fairly down to earth. He could connect with people on a regular level. He would talk to them one to one. There was a real warmth when I met him so very briefly at an event. So I think Prince Philip holds that place in the British public. He was very lovable. He was warm. He was very humanizing. When you got the opportunity to meet him, he was always by the Queen's side. He really gave a sense of duty and service to the country. So I think there will be a void amongst the people, very much as someone they have known pretty much all their lives. Was Prince Philip was there. So it certainly will be a loss to the nation.
Absolutely, indeed. And Richard, if I can bring you in on this, a lot of the British tabloids will be talking about, the interview that was given by Meghan Markle and Prince Harry to Oprah Winfrey. And a lot of people at that time had said, the timing of the entire interview was very problematic, because at that time Prince Philip was in hospital. He was not very well, and he's, of course, had come out. He'd been discharged for about a month now. But how is this going to be perceived at this point of time? Have you heard anything from Prince Harry or Meghan Markle?
I think that this is a question that will have to be answered in the next few days. There's no doubt whatsoever that recently royal life has been made extremely difficult by the interview that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle gave. We will simply have to see how matters are planned with the Duke's funeral, and subsequent to that, what happens with reference to the relations between the royal family and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. At the moment, our thoughts are with the royal family, and obviously with Prince Harry as the grandson of a truly remarkable consort, the longest ever serving in British history, and also one of the most distinguished.
Absolutely, indeed. And Mandy, if I can give you the last word on this. This, of course, will be a huge loss for the royal family. How is this now going to affect the royal family in terms of how it functions? We haven't heard anything specifically from the Queen yet. It is the royal family that's put out a statement. Can we expect a statement from the Queen anytime soon?
I don't think we can expect a statement from the Queen. I'm not sure. Perhaps she will. We don't know. They had an incredibly close partnership. It will be a deep sense of loss for the Queen. There will be a full plans for the Duke's funeral. Now, when a royal normally dies, there is a very planned ceremony, a lot of that is going to be curbed because of COVID restrictions, and mass gatherings are still not allowed. So it will be a slightly more muted ceremony when it comes to his funeral, and we can expect those plans to be announced likely within days. But I don't know if we can expect anything from the Queen. She's always been an incredibly private person, and this will be a time of deep grief for her.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.